Hey everyone, welcome back. So today's Wednesday, live stream day. Hope you guys are having a great day. Today was a freaking crazy day that we had in the markets, obviously. Bitcoin went way up, came back down because of Coinbase. We had miners going down into the day as well. They started out higher, but they went down. It was just a nuts of a day overall. So we have that to cover. We'll take a look at what's going on with Bitcoin with Coinbase. We'll take a look at also some news stories that we do have from Bitfarms, Stronghold, and then obviously we'll take a look at Marathon, right? They reported a couple of things here today. They reported their fiscal year 2023 numbers along with a new product they're launching. Kind of, they incubated, but they're leaving it out to the public to basically run it. Okay, so we have a lot to go over. As always, not financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research. I'm investing in following coins and companies for full disclosure, as always. And if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out tremendously. And as always, corrections will be posted to Discord, which is through Patreon membership, and then YouTube community posts and Twitter as well. So that will be all there if I make any mistakes. I'm human. I might make mistakes going forward. Okay, so that's that. Let's take a look at what's going on here with Bitcoin really quick here. And today we had a huge candle. Obviously, we were up tremendously here. We were up to 64,100. It was a crazy day. And then we kind of came back down a little bit and then pulled back up, which was nice to see. But we were up 9.53% on the day. We were from the low today at 56,000 to a high of 64,000. So that's almost, 8,000 or so roughly that we were up. Some people are saying that the God candle on Bitcoin is like 10,000. But I think as Bitcoin price goes up in value over time, I think we should be probably looking at like 10% increases in a day. I think that would be more of a God candle potentially, right? Especially if Bitcoin gets over to 100,000 to 200,000 or something like that. 10,000 increase in Bitcoin is not going to be that huge of a percentage increase. So that's kind of my thought on it. But if you look at the 1 hour chart, we had, it was just crazy today. Look at this chart here on this. This was right around 11 o'clock in the morning here, my time, Central Standard Time. And you can see here that Bitcoin at that time reached, there we go. Nope, that one, this one. You can see that Bitcoin reached 64,100 for the high, and then it came back to a low of 58,325. So roughly 6,000 and change, or 5,000 and change, something like that, where it went all the way up, came back all the way down, and then kind of closed at 61,437. So you can see this huge wick down that we just had, obviously, when the outage happened for Coinbase, and then everything kind of popped back up afterwards. So could we have gone even higher at that point? Possible. The way things were going, it just seems like we were going to be going up higher and higher, possibly going to like 65,000 even, which our next support line here, if we look at Bitcoin, is I don't actually have anything support lines because now we're getting into the territory of the previous all-time high, which is 69,000. So it's going to be interesting to see where things go. Obviously, right now, things have kind of pulled back a little bit on Bitcoin. The nice thing is that we came back down here on the new day to right around the 61,000 mark, which is our support line. And then we bounced off of that, and we're at 61,589 right now. So crazy day, like I said. It was just nuts all around. Miners here, for the most part, are down today, as you can see here. And a couple were actually up. Bitcoin or Marathon was up 2.38%, and CORZ was up like 10%, 11% towards the middle of the day. But then it came back down a little bit here, as obviously Bitcoin price came down. But other miners were down double digits, single digits, and percentage gains or losses, I guess you could say. And it was just a weird day. So if you look back on Monday, if we could look back, let's just look at, let's take a look at maybe Cleanspark here, because Cleanspark, I think, had a really wild ride here the last couple of days. So on Monday, it was up 23%, right? Yesterday was up also 2.65%, roughly. But on Monday, I think it looks like, if you look at some of the other miners as well, if we look at maybe Marathon as well, you can see that it seems like some of the miners were maybe front running this a little bit, the peak in Bitcoin. And then after that, they've kind of cooled off a little bit. And we've had it, yesterday we were down on the miners for the most part. Today we're down as well. So it seems like they may have been front running Bitcoin a little bit, but we'll have to see. Right, this is to be expected. This is nothing normal or nothing unusual, I guess you could say. But this is something that we typically see when we get into these kind of bull runs and things like that, where the miners may front run Bitcoin and then they kind of cool off a little bit for a while. People take profits, reallocation of assets, things like that happen. And then we eventually, go back up if Bitcoin continues to go back up. Okay, so that's basically it here. Let's take a look at how Coinbase had a rough day today. So Coinbase crashes following Bitcoin pump, and CEO cites large surge of traffic. I don't know if their servers are hosted by like Amazon Web Services or if they have their own servers. So that would be interesting, something that I would need to find out. But if they were using like Amazon Web Services, they have the option to, I think they call it the elastic cloud, where if your demand grows, so does your infrastructure grow at that same pace. So I don't know if they're using that or if they're taking advantage of that potentially, because obviously having an outage today was bad for Bitcoin because Bitcoin could have potentially gone up even higher. At that point, the miners also could have reversed from where they were in the beginning of the day for the lows. But this is what we got here. So Coinbase, one of the leading Bitcoin and cryptocurrency exchanges, experienced a significant outage today as Bitcoin's price soared, leaving many user accounts malfunctioning. The disruption occurred amid a sharp increase in trading activity following Bitcoin's surge in price, which briefly surpassed 64,000, which was fantastic. Going down here, Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong attributed the outage to a large surge of traffic. Right? They should be prepared for this because they know how in bull runs things can get out of hand quickly. So I'm surprised that they weren't as prepared as they should be, I guess you could say. Overwhelming the exchange's infrastructure, the sudden influx of users attempting to buy, sell, or trade Bitcoin overwhelmed Coinbase's servers, leading to connectivity issues for many customers. And that's unfortunate, right? Because like I said, we could have possibly gone even higher, but that kind of put a pause on things and had things retrace quite a bit. And then we kind of came back up. So they hopefully work this out going forward, right? They're a custodian for a lot of these ETFs as well. So they need to get this figured out quickly and they need to do something about it. Now, there's the opposite side of this as well, is because you don't want to have too many servers running at once if you don't have the need for it, right? Because you're basically wasting money at that time. But there is a fine line where you should probably follow. And if you see, increases in users on the network, trading and things like that, you need to spool up more servers to accommodate for those users, I guess. Okay. So here's a quote. We are aware that some users may see zero balance across the Coinbase accounts and may experience errors in buying it or selling. Coinbase stated, our team is investigating this and will provide an update shortly. Your assets are safe, right? One thing I can say about Coinbase is I trust them with coins. I don't have any coins on that server right now because I'm not trading it. All of my coins, excuse me, all of my coins are in a hard wallet right now because I don't trade them. I bought them. I traded them in the past. I lost money on it. I probably would have had more coins than I do right now. So I learned my lesson there. I'm just holding on to it until Bitcoin possibly reaches $1 million eventually in the next 5-10 years. With the way it's going right now, we might be there next year, which would be great. At that point, I might actually sell at that point. Okay, but that's kind of the plan that I have been instilling in myself at least. Okay. Going down here, following the outage, Bitcoin sharply declined in price from 64,000 to 59,500, wiping out most of the gains Bitcoin had made today. Coinbase has experienced similar outages in the past during periods of intense market volatility, prompting criticism from users and industry observers. Right? That's valid all the way around. Right? If you're a exchange, you need to make sure that you have the infrastructure in place to be able to withstand any huge spikes in volume for whatever that might be. That's just without a question, right? Then people seeing zero balances on their accounts, that's going to freak people out. It would freak me out if I had, a couple of Bitcoins in there or something like that, and I see that it's zero. Oh my gosh, I think I would lose my mind seeing that it's at zero. So they need to fix that. So if the servers do go down, they can at least show what the users actually have and not a zero balance, because that would, like I said, freak me out. Especially since people invest in it for a long time and such. So that is it. Like I said, today was just a nutty day all around. It was a fantastic day for Bitcoin, huge gains on it. And we'll see if this continues going forward. Obviously, we're down a little bit here on the day today right now. It might be just a little bit of a refresh or a little bit of a pullback, which I think might be even healthy because we've had quite a few days here in the green here. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we've had huge spikes in price appreciation as well. So if we do get a pullback, I'm not too surprised by it. Right now, we're kind of bouncing off the 61,000 mark. If we do fall back down, we might go down to like 57,000 mark. But like I said yesterday, we could still continue to go up and maybe even reach the new all-time high of 69,000 past that, or the previous all-time high. Okay, so that's Coinbase there in a nutshell, basically what happened today. And then let's go on to some of the news stories that we do have here, which is Bitfarms. Bitfarms, they're just reporting that they're going to be providing their fourth quarter and full year 2023 results and conference call. So they will report its fourth quarter and full year 2023 financial results on Thursday, March 7th at before the market opens. Management will host a conference call on the same day at 8 a.m. Eastern time. So my time would be like 9 Central time. Presentation of the Q4 23 results will be accessible before the call on investor website and can be accessed here as well. So there's a link for it. So we're getting more and more of these companies reporting their fiscal year-end results. And that is because it takes a little bit longer to report those because those are actually audited, whereas the quarterly results are not. They can provide those a lot faster. So it's nice that we're getting a slew of these coming in here. Next here is Stronghold, same thing. Stronghold is reporting their fiscal year results as well. So they will host a conference call on Wednesday, March 6th at 11 a.m. Eastern Time to discuss its operations and financial results from the fourth quarter and full year 2023. A press release detailing these results will be issued before the market opens on that same day. So we'll get some information from them as well. Maybe we'll get some information from them as far as what's going on with carbon capture and things like that. That's kind of, maybe, we'll see. Okay. But that's it for that one. Next here is obviously Marathon. So Marathon today introduces Enduro, I guess you could call it, a new multi-chain Bitcoin layer 2 network. I'm what you might call a purist when it comes to Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin was invented for one purpose. It was invented for the transfer of money, the payments from one peer to another peer without a centralized entity in the middle, right? So this is a trustless network, basically, right? It's been around for over 10 years. It has worked that way pretty doggone well. This, to me, seems like you're trying to fit a square peg in a round hole for something that was not intended to do these types of things, at least in my opinion. Now, there are people that say that Bitcoin should have more functionality and things like that. I think you could say, okay, fine, but why not use the other chains that are out there already, like Ethereum, all the other altcoins that are out there that are doing those types of things. Use those for those types of things. But I think you should use Bitcoin just for basically wealth creation and also wealth capture. So if you want to capture your wealth in it, you can do so. And also for payments and things like that, right? We have the Lightning Network. The Lightning Network works great. It provides a lot of infrastructure and quick, easy transactions, right? With low fees. But it doesn't do anything else other than just payments. And that's perfect. I think that's a great case for it. Is Lightning perfect right now? Probably not. Probably needs to get a little bit more updates, get a little bit more speed, things like that, to be able to do it properly. But it's at least something that's in the realm of where Bitcoin was supposed to be. Okay, so let's get into this here. That's at least my thoughts on it. You guys can obviously agree or disagree with me on this, which is fine. But I'm at least letting you guys know where I'm coming from. So Marathon today revealed Enduro, a new multi-chain layer 2 network on Bitcoin aimed at accelerating Bitcoin development and adoption. While Bitcoin's decentralization, security, and popularity can be appealing for blockchain developers, the network's current functionality can pose challenges for developers who are looking to scale their blockchain applications. Okay, if you're looking to scale your blockchain applications, go to Ethereum. Go to someplace else. Stay away from Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a payments network, basically like I said, peer-to-peer payments system, okay? To encourage Bitcoin development and adoption, Marathon has been incubating Enduro, a new programming layer 2 network on Bitcoin. Enduro aims to serve as an application layer while strengthening the underlying incentives behind Bitcoin's proof of work. So basically, money, right? It's all about the money part of it. Enduro is a platform built on the Bitcoin network that allows for the creation of multiple side chains, providing a new avenue for innovation within the Bitcoin ecosystem. While Marathon has helped incubate Enduro, the network is intended to be community-led and community-driven. The network is designed to systematically integrate decentralized governance with a focus on becoming the most reliable developer-centric Bitcoin layer 2. Okay, that's all well and good. But if they were, and this is just me again, you guys might disagree with this, but I think if Marathon wanted to help out, they should have been helping out with other side chains, Ethereum, whatever that might be, go down that road. Leave Bitcoin alone to be a payment system. Marathon is already developing the first 2 side chains on Enduro, Coordinate and Alice, which can be further developed by open source contributors. These chains demonstrate Enduro's flexibility programming. Coordinate offers a cost-effective UTXO stack for the Ordinals community, whereas Alice is an Ethereum-compatible chain for institutional asset tokenization. Well, you already have Ethereum for that. Why put it on Bitcoin? That's just my take on it. I'll have to read some more into it, but some of the things that I've read so far on it is that it is centralized more so than anything else. I think Lightning is also centralized because you're dealing with peers between those two peers that run the Lightning Network. So it's a little bit more centralized. But overall, I don't know how I feel about this yet. Like I said, I want Bitcoin to be Bitcoin, and that's it. I don't care about all this other crap that's on there, like the ordinals and everything else. Put that on the other chains. But that's just me. Okay. And then this basically tells you all you need to know. For one, it adds to Marathon's growing technology stack by potentially introducing a new source of fee revenue. So it's all about the money here. It's not about what Bitcoin was intended to do. It's what can grow their pockets. So that's kind of where I'm kind of drawing the line here a little bit. Beyond that, by extending the functionality of Bitcoin, Enduro may be able to increase Bitcoin's adoption. And if Bitcoin flourishes, so do we, right? Back to the bottom line here. But let me know what you guys think of this. Obviously, this is just my take on it. And I'm just looking at it from one side of view. You guys might be looking at it from another side of view. But I'm not a fan of this. Okay, I'll just leave it at that. Yep. You can take a look at it here. It's enduro.io if you want to check it out. All right. Next here is the Marathon results here. So Marathon Digital Holdings reports fourth quarter and fiscal year 2023 results. And I'm not going to go through all these things here. You guys can do that at your own leisure. There's only one thing that I really wanted to point out in here, which was kind of interesting here. And there's actually another thing that's kind of interesting as well in the actual report on the SEC website, the 10K, sorry. But here's the thing. They reported that in 2024, we plan to grow our hash rate to approximately 35 to 37 exahash, which is great news that they are going to be growing that. So that would be basically a 10 exahash increase from where they are right now. That right there, like 26 exahash. I can't remember exactly off the top of my head here. But that would be basically like a 10 to 12 exahash increase, which is great. By the end of 2025, we plan to be at 50 exahash, which is approximately double our current capacity, with orders for 22 exahash of miners already placed and options to add an additional 23 exahash to these orders as well. We believe there will be opportunities to accelerate our growth, which is great. Okay, this is all fine and good, but we need more information from Marathon. This is like the second time that they've ordered machines, but they haven't provided any information as far as what are they going to be buying. So this is kind of frustrating, at least on my part, because I'm analyzing what they're doing, right? And they're not providing how many machines they're buying, what's the exahash on those, what's the cost on those, right? So we can't figure all this stuff out. And from the conference call here, I think that the reason they're not doing this is my little sticky note here as far as the notes. They learned lessons learned from 2022 when they said they're going to get to 23 exahash in 2022. That didn't happen until obviously 2023. So with them saying that they're going to get to this exahash, this month, whatever that might be, is I think that they learned their lesson as far as being too overly optimistic potentially. But that's fine. If you don't want to provide the time frame for it, that's one thing. But provide us with information as far as what's the hash rate of the miners, how many are you getting, who's the manufacturer of those, what's the wattage on them, and then you can maybe let us know what the actual time frame is, but you don't have to be exact. We're going to get those in sometime in 2025. That way we're not thinking these are coming in May and June and you don't get them. And then we're asking and questioning, when are these going to get plugged in? Do you have them in stock? Are they not hashing right now? So I can see all those points, which is fine. But at least give us information on the miners. That's the only gripe that I have with this. And this is the second time they've done this, and it kind of frustrates me, I guess you could say. Okay? Because everybody else provides the information. Others provide actual contracts when things are going to happen. And for the most part, they pretty much execute on those. Sometimes they're delayed a little bit, which is fine, right? Things happen. We understand. But not providing the information on the miners just irks me. Okay. So that's it for that part of it. Also in here, if we go down here, this is from their 10K filing, right? In note 12, stockholder equity. We just learned that they are going to be having a shelf offering. So you can read here, in February 2024, we intend to commence a new at-the-market offering. I guess this would be an ATM offering program with H.C. Wainwright Company, acting as a sales agent in the 2024 ATM, the pursuant to the ATM agreement under which we may offer and sell shares of our common stock from time to time through Wainwright, having an aggregate offering price of up to $1.5 billion. Okay, I think this is maybe why the stock actually fell after hours when they reported. The other part of it was here on October 24th, 2023, the company entered into a new at-the-market offering program. the 2023 program with Wainwright relating to shares of the company's common stock in accordance with the terms of the sales agreement. The company may offer and sell shares of its common stock having an aggregate offering price of up to $750 million. From time to time through Wainwright acting as its sales agent. As of December 31st, the company has sold 19.5 million shares of common stock for an aggregate purchase price of $248 million. So you could say $250 million net offering cost pursuant to the 2023 ATM. Meaning they have basically $500 million left in this, and they're getting $1.5 billion in this. Yet they're sitting on $1 billion in cash. This, as an investor, would it would frustrate me, would upset me, because they have all the cash and all the things that they need to grow further without further dilution. That's the way at least I'm looking at it. And I think that's kind of why the stock price actually fell in the after hours based on what I'm seeing here, because their quarterly results were actually really good. Their end of year results were good as well. They weren't great, but they were good. But this is kind of the thing that I'm looking at here and going $2 billion in ATM for the next however long they want to do this for, right? Let me know what you guys think, but we'll get into the questions, obviously Q&A at the end of the live stream here, but this is kind of my take on it. I would not be happy with this, with them sitting on $1 billion in cash and basically Bitcoin, okay? But that's it here. So let's take a look at their numbers here. We'll go through that and we'll get into the Q&A here. So I didn't update the price here today. It's obviously down right now. It might be actually a little bit up here, but we're looking at about $8 billion in market cap based on the shares outstanding right now, which is reported as of, when was this reported? The reported in there was as of February 21st, I think, or something like that. They had 267 million shares out at that point. That gives them an 8 billion market cap roughly. So they're definitely the biggest one here that we have. Currently, their future hash rate was at roughly 30 exahash. And with the new purchase, they're supposed to get to, what did they say? 35 to 37 exahash based on that. So like I said, need more details on the miners here to figure this stuff out. But you can see the performance here over the last 12 months as far as operations are concerned. Here's what we really want to look at is the quarterly results here. So we've seen very nice growth from them as far as revenue is concerned over the last 4 quarters, and the current quarter that we're in right now is an estimate. So you can see continued growth here, which is good to see. Last 4 quarters operating costs minus depreciation, so I'm not including depreciation in this. You can see that that has also been increasing, but that's given that their hash rate has been increasing as well, which is fine. That's not a problem there. Okay, cost to mine 1 Bitcoin minus depreciation, that's been kind of up and down here over the last 4 quarters. So they're back up to about 18.1 thousand per Bitcoin. That doesn't include general administrative. It just includes basically what their operating costs are for that side of things. Bitcoin mine quarterly has been increasing, which is great to see here on this. And this is also for self-mining. I don't include joint ventures in here as well, just for clarification there. Debt to equity is lower, better. That's 0.23. I mean, that's really good. Their current ratio is 30. Not a problem with their balance sheet here. They have a healthy balance sheet. No worries there. Total current assets, like I said, $1 billion right now as of Q4. And the total current liabilities was $33 million, right? Healthy balance sheet, no problems there. Going down here, let's take a look at the numbers that we do have here. We'll get into these metrics here in a little bit. But current assets, like we said, $1 billion here. They have 639 million in digital currencies right now, which is valued at Bitcoin, but that's actually might be higher. If we scroll up here, sorry for the scrolling back and forth. That's actually valued at 771 million right now, as of yesterday. And then if we look at 771, so they got like 1.2 billion or something like that, close to that, in assets right now, right? That's why it irks me when they have 2 billion in an ATM that they could possibly use. Total current assets, like I said, 1 billion here. Total assets, 1.9 billion. Total liabilities of 375 million. So they still have obviously that loans out, convertible notes that are going to be due in 2016. Obviously, I'm thinking they're probably going to pay that off maybe next year or maybe even this year, depending on where Bitcoin goes. We'll see on that. Going down here to revenues. So revenue was for the year 387 million for the quarter. We'll really concentrate on the quarter here as far as, because that's what we really want to know. At least I want to know that. Hoping you guys want to know that too. But we'll go back and forth a little bit between the fiscal year and the quarter results here. But that was 156 million here. I was off on that by about 1.9%. So for whatever reason, I came up with here at 153 million, they came in at 156. I was off by 1.99%, 2%. So I always want to try to be within 2.5% at the very max here for either on the upside or the downside on that. So we were pretty close, but not close as I would like it to be. So I got to look into what's going on there. Going down here, revenues here, cost of revenue came in at, so this is energy, hosting, and other, with 75 million. That is definitely a substantial increase from the 59 million that we've seen here in Q3. Not sure why that might be. I know they installed obviously more machines and things like that, but it could be also, well, trying to figure that out. If we look up here, so sorry about going back and forth, but just want to point out this data out to you guys. So if we look at September, October, so this was October, November, December quarter, we've obviously increased our hash rate by about 5 exahash or so. Prior to that, they were pretty flat here, so that's probably attributable to that. Okay, going back. Okay, cost of revenue minus depreciation, that was at 70.9 million here, 179 million for the year, and then prior quarter was 53 million. So based on cost of revenue, energy, hosting, and other percentage, that was 47% of basically their revenue here, just on that alone. So their net profit margin was 47%, or gross profit margin, I guess you would say, right? Gross, yeah. Gross, net is after all the other costs. Going down here, general administrative expenses, 39.2 million here. That is a 19 million increase from the prior quarter. This leads me to believe that they added a bunch of stock-based compensation, bonuses, things like that at the end of the year. And we've seen this with other miners as well, where they just pad everything into it at the end of the year for themselves. So that's not great there either. We could probably look at maybe what that was comprised of in the actual 10K. But that's obviously huge there, 19 million in additional bonuses and things like that, because they really didn't have anybody. Well, I don't think they had anybody else. They just bought the facilities here recently, the last 2 facilities that they bought just in the last, month or so. So those shouldn't be attributable to that. Impairment of digital currencies looks like 26.3 million here for the quarter. Realized and unrealized gain losses was 258 million for the quarter, looks like, on Bitcoin. And then what else do we have here that was kind of interesting here? Loss on hedge instruments, 17.4 million. Not sure what that was. If they were hedging on Bitcoin or something like that, or on power. Well, probably not power because they were hosting everything. So that wasn't attributable to that. Going down here, operating income, we had 82 million here, looks like. So that was good here, 277 million. Obviously, this was based on the revaluation of Bitcoin for them. And that is, where is that at? Right here. 331 million in revaluation on Bitcoin. That's how we're getting the 261 million in income before taxes and everything else, right? For the full year, 66 million for the quarter. Based on this, they came in at $1.41 for basic shares diluted, or basic shares, and then diluted was $1.06. And then here's the basic and diluted numbers for the shares. I calculated based on the Q4 numbers that they were at like 35 cents to 34 cents on the diluted side of things. And if I'm using these same numbers here, so it might be a little bit higher, might be a little bit lower. This is just an estimated number for those for that quarter. I don't think they provided it actually. If they did, let me know and I'll correct it what they actually provided at. But then if we look at all the numbers here minus depreciation, so comprehensive income, we're looking at they would be at like $2.29 per share, and then for the quarter it'd be like 72 cents per share, right? So a great quarter overall. There are some bad things in there, like the general administrative compensation expenses going into it as well. The cost that has increased for the operation side of things, getting to 75 million. With them buying their own facilities here, I think that's going to improve going forward. I would imagine that's going to improve. And we'll leave it at that. Some of the things that I also learned from their conference call was, obviously we talked about the new shelf offering, or the ATM. It's the 1.5 billion plus the 500 million that they still have left over. Growth. I think they mentioned in there that they're buying the Auradine miners in there. So that's why I think it would be interesting to note how much they're paying for them, and then what exahash again or terahash again for each one. They also talked about heat potentially to offset. They basically sell heat from these machines to other industries to offset electricity costs, where they could be like at a zero. Okay, interesting thing if they can pull it off, but I don't know what industries we want to be next door to them. We've seen this with Hive as well. Hive was saying about doing, what were they? Like, where you grow plants. What's that called? I'm drawing a blank here. It's a farm, but it's covered with, clear plastic greenhouse. Maybe greenhouses would work on something like this. But then they're talking about also using these kind of miners to heat homes and things like that. I'm like, these things are loud. Who's going to want it in their house, really? So those types of things are kind of out there, but if they can get those things done, they're obviously saying that they want to be like 50% of self-mining, excuse me, things like that, and then another 50% of the other kind of streams, like these streams that would generate heat and things like that. It's all interesting, but we obviously need to see some proof of evidence, I guess you could say, that those things actually work, and how will they work. Until then, it's a nice theory, right? And Hive has been doing this, or trying to do this, for a couple of years. I think they actually have a pilot program going up in, where they, Norway, Iceland, somewhere up there. But that is it. So we'll leave it at that. Like I said, the quarter was great. The numbers were great for the full year. Obviously, the FASB rules helped them out here, which everybody's taking advantage of it, except for, I think, the Canadian miners can't do it right now because they are under a different set of accounting rules. But yeah, we'll leave it at that. The growth thing is great. The quarter was great, I think. I'm surprised that the stock went down, but I think it's because of the ATM and everything else. So we'll leave it at that. We'll get into you guys' Q&A here. And as always, please type question in the comments or something like that. We'll go through all of this as much as we can in the next little bit. So we'll see. Okay, let me get back to my screen here where I can see you guys' comments here. And I don't have comments. I don't see comments. Give me a second. There we go. Okay, I can see comments again. Let's see if you guys have any questions. And then I'm going to take a sip of my adult beverage. Let's see here. Okay. What do we got going on here? I'm taking questions. Summer Breeze says, take questions. I'm taking questions. I'm a little bit delayed from the stream here. So by the time it goes out and then you guys get back to me, it takes a couple of seconds, 10 seconds or so, something like that. Let's see here. Okay, Eric asks, best value miner right now. Depending what you define as value, are you looking for somebody that's undervalued based on, operations, things like that? There's different ways to look at it. We have a lot of miners that are undervalued, but there's reasons for them being undervalued. You got Stronghold being undervalued, but their operations and things like that are costly. They're losing money. You got also Argo that's going to be in trouble potentially here come halving event, depending where Bitcoin goes. Bitcoin goes up to 80,000, they might not be in trouble. What's the other one that was also a Mawson as well? So, and then you got CORZ just getting out of bankruptcy. If you take that out of the equation for them, they're like one of the most that's undervalued right now. But they were just in bankruptcy. They got out of bankruptcy. I think people are just a little hesitant to get into them. So you got that. I think Bitfarms, Riot, not Riot, Iris Energy are still, or now IREN, are undervalued from where they probably should be. I think they should be at least 2x from where they are right now. Okay. Let's see here. Do you think Mara will continue to inverse BTC? Inverse, you mean like go the opposite way of BTC? I think maybe what you're asking is, will Marathon continue to outperform Bitcoin? I think that will be the case. I think it will be the case for all the miners. But clarify your question, because I'm not sure I understand your question, what that is. Okay. What are your thoughts on IREN? IREN, I like IREN. IREN is my number 3 miner that I'm following. So I have Cleanspark as the number 1, Bitfarms is the number 2, and then IREN was my number 3 pick. And the only reason it was number 3 is because they don't hodl anything, right? And they also have been reporting, financial results every 6 months. So that was also a drag on them. So I think if they don't hodl, that kind of brings them down a little bit. And then obviously the reporting, if they could increase the reporting to quarterly, I think that would help out as well. But other than that, they have good growth ahead of them. They have operations side of things are great as well, usually within like top 5, top 7 miners as far as efficiency is concerned. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. Let's see here. Question, thoughts on mass, so MicroStrategy over miners. I like MicroStrategy, but in the past I've seen what it seems like it's just doing like a 2x of Bitcoin, where the miners can actually do like a 5 to 10x above where Bitcoin goes, right? At least historically. Will we see that this bull run? I still think that's the case, but that could change. I don't think it will, but that might change. We'll have to see. But that's why I'm in the miners. Let's see. What else do we have here? I wanted to ask, after today, it felt like Bitcoin is a better money making investment than stocks. Am I wrong? Well, depending, do you mean like the Bitcoin mining stocks, or are you just talking about regular stocks? If you're talking about regular stocks, then yeah, I would think Bitcoin's probably the better investment. If you look at at least the 10 years, it has outperformed everything for the most part. And if you look at the miners also in spans of time will outperform Bitcoin as well, because they're like a leverage play on Bitcoin. So what are your thoughts? What am I drinking? Adult beverage, so basically just vodka and Sprite right now. Very little vodka, just a little bit. Questions. What are your hobbies for weekend when you aren't working? I'm always working. I love working. But the hobbies obviously include biking with my kids with bikes, quadding as well. My boys love doing that. Fishing, swimming. And then we also like to go just regular bike rides, play outside, things like that. Normal things. And play video games too. We love to play video games. My boys love video games. Let's see here. Question, are you adding to IREN and Bitfarms? I would be. I'd love to add right now. I got to keep money back for taxes. Income taxes, and I got to pay property taxes here in a little bit as well. So I need to keep money back. I don't want to sell stocks that I have right now or later on to do that. So I'm kind of building up my cash balance right now. Once that's fully built up to where I need it to, at that point, I'll start buying more. Let's see here. Why do you prefer Cleanspark over Marathon? Okay. When I started tracking these miners, this was going back to probably the third quarter of 2021, right? Somewhere around there, when they were peaking, obviously. At that point, I was looking at the miners. Cleanspark at that time looked to be the most overvalued, and I just continued to track them. As far as operations are concerned, how are they growing? You know, what are their targets, and are they meeting those targets? And are they even beating those targets? And Cleanspark was doing all those things, and they still are doing all those things. Operational side of things, I would like to see miners that are operating as close to 100% as possible. And that's where Cleanspark really shines there. Efficiency as far as exahash per Bitcoin or per BTC as well. How is that operating? How are they operating there? How are they, just using the funds? They were selling Bitcoin in the bull run and selling it out of the bull run as well, growing their infrastructure that way, their hash rate, all of that, those things. So that's kind of where I was looking at it. And I mean, you saw recently Marathon. If you look, not even recently, but if you look back just last year, you could see how much they were curtailing because they were with the hosting provider and things like that. So they weren't up to operating as efficiently as they should be. And this is where Cleanspark shined to me. Okay, so that's kind of where I got it. Let's see. Okay, what percentage will come into the ETF products? You said 1% before. Price is moving up really fast. Maybe it will be more. It could be more, right? We all thought at least if the institutions give at least a 1% of it, right? That was kind of the ballpark there. Now we're hitting maybe 1 to 3%. So if that happens, that's going to obviously drive the price of Bitcoin up even more. But we'll see. I'll be happy if we get that 1%. If anything above that is a bonus. Let's see here. Today, Bitcoin price up, but most miners down. What is happening on these mining stocks? So like I said earlier in the video, sometimes the miners will actually front run Bitcoin price action, and then they kind of stall out a little bit and pull back, where people are either at that point reallocating some of their assets to other things or just rebalancing, right? If you have these hedge funds and institutions buying into these Bitcoin miners and things like that, if they go up 40, 50% or something like that within a span of a week or so or more, they're going to start to rebalance their portfolio, right? That's normal. So that might be what is also happening there. How do you think Cypher's earnings will be next Tuesday when they announce? I don't know. I'll have to take a look at it. I think they should be pretty good. I don't know. Let's take a look at it here. Why don't we do that really quick? Let me put on my screen here and go over here. So if we look at Cypher, right now we're looking at about 48.2 million. This is just for the self-mining revenue. If that's the case, what was their debt at the end of, or what was their operational costs at the end of Q3? If we look at it here, where is it at? There it is. Revenue expenses was Cost of revenue was 13 million here roughly. They have grown their hash rate a little bit, but we have general estimated was kind of high, 23. So I think they're going to be pretty close to at least maybe squeaking out a positive EPS. But I have to run the numbers here exactly to see what's going on there. And if they can get to, let's see here, 48 million, yeah, might be possible that they have a positive EPS. Plus they have some HODL there. They can revalue that based on the FASB rules. So that is definitely possible there. Okay. Let's go back here. Let's see here. Can we expect a little minor rally, or is it more likely that we are just in advance compared to BTC? Boy, can we expect a little miners rally, or is it likely that they just were just in advance compared to BTC? I don't know if I can. Mr. Robinson, rephrase that question. I'm having a hard time getting it. Let's see here. Again, why did the miners struggle today when Bitcoin went nuts? Again, I think there's just some reallocation of funds or assets and things like that. Plus the miners, if look back on Monday, for the week, the miners are still above where Bitcoin is right now, as far as percentage gains. Some of them are, not all of them. But that's, I think, why. We had, 20-some percentage gains on Monday, and then we kind of front run Bitcoin price going up, potentially. Let's see. All right, here we go. Question: hypothetically, if BTC price stays constant, how do miners survive after having same work for half the reward? So it depends, where does Bitcoin stay constant, right? A lot of these miners right now are looking like they're going to need Bitcoin to be at least above 60,000, if not higher for some of them, like 80, 90,000, for them to just break even with operations, cost of electricity, all those other things, right? I'm looking at just the cash expenses there. I'm not looking at like depreciation, all that other stuff. But just cash-based expenses, they would need Bitcoin to be at least 60 or north of that. If it stays obviously north of 60,000, a lot of these guys will do fine. Some of these guys will not do fine. And we'll do the numbers on this when all of the miners actually report their quarter or fiscal year results, and then we'll check to see what that break-even price is for Bitcoin for those, depending on where the network hash rate is also. Okay, so stay tuned to that. That'll be coming out probably sometime in March once they're all reporting. Question, is Iris Energy lagging because it's not a holler? Could be part of it, right? Also that they don't report quarterly. That could be also kind of keeping them down a little bit. Because when they did report, we saw a huge dilution, obviously. People weren't expecting it, I guess, or at least not that much. And that obviously hurt. But if we're expecting it, and I think if they report that they're fully funded to reach 10 exahash or 15 exahash, whatever it might be, I think that would help. We've seen this with other miners as well. When they report that always helps them out. Let's see here. What is your thoughts about WGMI ETF for miners? I do have it in my 401k profit sharing plan. I'm up nicely on it. It's kind of, on that one, I looked at it today, and that one is actually like 1-1 for Bitcoin, where Bitcoin is going up. Bitcoin's up like 100,000, up 100-some percent over the last year. So was the WGMI ETF. I was expecting the WGMI ETF to do a little bit better, maybe at least 2x on that. And I don't know if it's because they're reallocating the shares that they have in the different miners and companies and things like that to different ones or something like that. I don't know if that's what's happening there, or if people are just going into more so into the miners themselves, where you have a little bit more of a multiple there. But we'll see if that changes when Bitcoin starts going up and the miners start going up crazy, if that actually picks up a little bit more. But I need to do some more research in that one. CORZ, how about CORZ? Great day. Yeah, I mean, they were up like 10, 11, 12% at one point during the day. And it's finally getting a little bit of love, it looks like. So that's nice to see. What's your updated BTC price target at having? Gosh, that's anybody's guess now. I mean, we're less than probably 50 days away from that. Originally, I was thinking we were going to get to maybe like 50-some thousand. Well, we blew past that relatively quickly. We're now at 60-some thousand. So who knows? We could be at 70, 80,000 by the time the halving happens. But just all depends where things go right now. It's all dependent on Bitcoin. Let's see. Okay, we already talked about that one. So question, most undervalued between Cleanspark, Bitfarms, I mean, Cleanspark's not undervalued right now. Cleanspark is pretty well valued right now. With the future growth that they have, they might be slightly undervalued, but just barely. Bitfarms and IREN, Iris Energy, IREN, I would say between those, I think Bitfarms and IREN Energy should be at least like 2x from where they are right now. IREN, obviously, with the dilution that we've seen from the half-year results, has definitely brought up their market cap at that point. So I think they're a little bit better valued than Bitfarms. So I think Bitfarms is a little bit more undervalued right now, slightly, but not much. Please talk about Sphere 3D. What would you like to know? Sphere 3D is basically a small miner. They have about what, 1.2, 1.3 exahash or something like that. They have won some battles with CORZ Scientific where they're getting like $10 million, $10 to $12 million from that settlement with them. But other than that, they're just not growing. I don't know if they're going to be able to make it through the halving. If Bitcoin goes to 70, 80,000, I think they'll be fine. But other than that, they're going to have a hard time. They may be going out of business. Let's see here. When do you think we might see CORZ price moving? I think when they start reporting the results for the fiscal year. We want to see some information as far as how are they doing after bankruptcy. So it might not be until actually Q1 results for 2024 when they report those. At that point, we'll get a better picture of as far as what's going on with it. And at that point, investors can evaluate, okay, they're doing much better. This is something that we can invest in. That's at least my take on it. Which hardware wallet would you recommend for BTC? I've used Ledger. There's other ones, obviously, that are really good out there as well. Ledger got some criticism recently last year. I can't remember what it was for, but it was for something. I can't remember now. But I've used it for, gosh, 5 years now, since 2017. So we're going on almost, wow, was it going to be almost 7 years? 2017, we're in 20, yeah, almost 7 years. Never had issues with it. So that's kind of the one I use. Any one that you guys use, do some research on it to obviously make sure that it's safe and everything else on that. And then obviously don't let people know what those passphrases are. Did Marathon address the down servers in the ER call? Yeah, they did. They basically pointed out what was the issues and that they are getting back online. So they did address it. Let's see. Question, can you cover WGMI sometimes as a lot of us own it and it also holds NVIDIA? Yeah, I can cover it. It's not a big deal. We can always take a look at least once a month, what's going on with it, what do they own now, things like that. Yeah, I can definitely do that. Let's see. Bitfarms earnings expectations, should buy now or wait? Your thoughts? I can't tell you what to do as far as that is concerned. Bitfarms earnings, I think will... I don't think that, well, I'm pretty sure they can't use the new FASB rule. So that's not going to be any help to them for the HODL that they have right now. Based on that, we'll take a look at it maybe when it gets closer to see what we might be able to squeak out. Obviously, Q4 for a lot of the miners was great because we had the high Bitcoin fees in there. So that should be looking good. Eric says, look, Mara HODL plus cash and dilute. LOL, ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the way I look at it too. Let's see. How have mining fees acted? Price action, directional speaking after previous halving cycles. Usually when we get into the bull run, that's when we see more Bitcoin fees being added to it. So those usually increase after the halving. This time around, we're seeing obviously Bitcoin fees getting increased by a lot, by ordinals, other things like that, which was great for the miners, obviously very beneficial to them. But yeah, usually they increase after the halving event. Okay, has you changed opinion on CORZ? CORZ I still think is high risk, high reward, right? Until we actually get to see some of those financials from when they got out of Chapter 11 bankruptcy, how are they doing at that point? At that point, I may change my mind. But I will let you guys know my dad bought some more today, okay? But that's just between us. Let's see here. My dad is also one of those people that's high risk, high reward kind of guy. He goes all in on something. But that's just him. That's not me. I like to be a little bit more conservative in my even though I'm in the miners. I say I'm conservative, but that's kind of crazy that I say I'm in the miners and I'm conservative. But there you have it. Let's see. Is the having and reduced block rewards weighing on stock price of the miners? It could be, right? Last cycle, we saw the miners going down in price a year prior. This time they've been pumping. So maybe we are seeing a little bit of that. It could be attributable to it as well. We could also just have a healthy pullback. We've gone up huge here in the last couple of weeks here. So anything can be on it. Let's see. You guys have a lot of questions. I'm trying to keep up here and catch up. Let's see. Okay, question. Did price action today change any miners' all-time high price targets? No. No. We're going to see these kind of fluctuations where, we've seen it before. We saw it in, what was it, right after like July, August time frame. Bitcoin was going up slightly a little bit here. Bitcoin miners were actually going down. We saw the same thing kind of in the last couple of days. Bitcoin was going up. Miners were actually up on Monday, but they were down Tuesday. They were down today, right? You're going to see these kind of deviations a little bit with Bitcoin and miners. Sometimes they front run it. Sometimes they don't. So that's part of the game here with the miners. Okay. So Sphere 3D operates just like a Cleanspark and Marathon, just a smaller scale, maybe a buyout candidate. Not really a buyout candidate because they don't own any infrastructure. So they don't own any facilities that larger miners would want to put in their own miners. So the only assets that they really do have is the miners. And the miners that they do have are, I believe those are like the 100 terahash miners, which are obviously old now. So not really a buyout candidate for that part. Let's see, BTC might hit 300,000 this year, question mark. I mean, if it keeps going like the way it is, who knows? Anything's possible. I was still thinking like maybe closer to 110,000 by the end of the year, right? Something like that, but we'll see. I mean, we could be on a parabolic rise in Bitcoin with all the adoption that we're seeing here and the institutions, the ETFs, all of that stuff. All of that stuff is driving. I mean, you got basically the institutions or the ETFs buying like 10,000 Bitcoin a day, where we're only generating 900 a day. There's a huge supply and demand imbalance here. So obviously, when you have that, price is going to go up. But then after the halving event, you're even down to 450 Bitcoin a day instead of the 900. So let's see here. What can be the top for Cleanspark, Marathon, and Riot? That all depends. Where Bitcoin goes, where network hash rate goes, how much did they dilute, if they dilute, that all plays into it. And, where's the top going to be? Is it going to be at the end of this year? Or is it going to be at the end or middle of next year, potentially? So a lot of variables to look into. I mean, we can run some assumptions, and we'll do that in following videos as well. When will miners move? Could be tomorrow, could be next week. We don't know. If you have dips, I look at them as buying opportunities, but that's just me. See, no MicroStrategy in your portfolio? Nope. Only reason because I wanted to get as much of a leverage play on Bitcoin as possible, and the miners offer that, where MicroStrategy has offered maybe a 2x. I think it's doing a little bit better now with all the rebound with the FASB rules. I think that's helped them out tremendously, get their values back up. Let's see. Question for the last 2 days, Bitcoin is going up, however, not the miners. Why is so? Like I said, if you look at Monday, if you look at the weekly time frame also on the miners, you'll see that a lot of the miners are still possibly up higher in percentage gains than Bitcoin is itself. And then we just had obviously 2 days where we were kind of going down a little bit. I mean, yesterday we were down just slightly. Today we were down much more because Bitcoin fell crashing down. So that's kind of the reasons why. But tomorrow we might have a green day. You just never know. Do you think miners will have a big run? Now, I would expect a little bit more of a pullback, but anything might surprise me. They might go up, another 10%, 20% tomorrow. Who knows? Let's see. Sorry, guys. Trying to find another question here. Covered this a little bit here. Would you buy more miners now? I would if I had the cash. I got to keep cash on the side for income taxes and property taxes. So I need to put cash on the side there. Once that's covered, I'll be definitely buying the dips. What will Cleanspark end the What will Cleanspark end year projected hash rate? I think their projected is supposed to be like, what, 30, 32 exahash, something like that. I think they can pull it off based just on the track record in the past. You know, going back to 2021 is when they started mining at basically 100 petahash at the beginning of January. They've gotten within 3 years to basically 15 exahash within that time frame. That is a huge achievement, and they've been able to do that pretty much consistently and sometimes even beat their own projections as far as where they're going to get to. So I would not count them out as far as being able to reach that. At least not yet. They haven't given me a reason to think otherwise. Okay. Normally, if you look at it, okay, so question, what would Bitfarms be around when BTC is 100K? So, I mean, right now you're looking at basically 2x roughly. Normally you would add another 3x on top of that. So you're looking maybe at like 5 or 6x from where Bitfarms is right now. That's kind of what the average would be, where we're looking at. Could be a little bit lower, could be a little bit higher. That's kind of the average on it. What is IREN's cost per Bitcoin right now? I would have to look at it. I think it's like, I don't want to say, I would have to look at it, but look at the video that I did with them on their fiscal year end report or the H1 report. So look at that. You'll get the information there. Do you expect miners to pump before the halving? I was actually expecting the miners to go down into the halving, but they have been surprising me because of the spot Bitcoin ETF. So it's not the same cycle like we had last time and 4 years ago before the halving where the miners were going down. It's a totally different cycle that we have right now. And it's just crazy. What else do we have here? Sorry, looking for questions. You guys have a lot of texts here going on. Okay, question. Is it smart to stick with miners, Mara, Cleanspark, etc. till having then switch to Bitcoin for time being? Until, etc. till having then switch to Bitcoin. I don't know about that, right? It all depends where Bitcoin goes, because Bitcoin continues to go up, the miners are going to go up as well. At least that's the theory, or at least what we've seen here historically. So if you stick with the miners until the halving and then you switch over to Bitcoin, Bitcoin goes, let's say Bitcoin goes up just from right now to 120,000, right? That's only 2x. Miners are expected to at least probably like 3x of that. So that's kind of where I don't trade, I just hold. I buy the dips, I hold on to it, and then I'll sell once we get closer to possibly all-time highs, which are not all-time highs, but possibly when we get into like closer to the peak bull run, which we don't know when that's going to be. It could be at the end of 2024, it could be sometime in 2025. We'll have to keep an eye on it, see where things are going. Alrighty. I may miss some questions here. If I do, I apologize. It's just I'm trying to get through this, and we've been going kind of long here. I'm looking at some questions that we've already covered here, so I'm not trying to get those here. Okay, we're getting close towards the end here. Okay, thoughts on Canadian miners, which one is best? I mean, right now you have, what do you have it that's in Canadian? HUD is now US based. So you got Hive, you got Bitfarms, and then you got, I think, DMG, if I'm not mistaken. No, the DMG, that's, I can't remember if DMG is US or Canadian based now. But regardless, I would think that Bitfarms would be probably like the better one out of those. Hive is only trying to get to exahash. That's going to be 1% of the network hash rate. They don't have any ambitious plans to grow to 10 exahash, 20 exahash like some of the other miners do, like Bitfarms does. So I would say Bitfarms is probably the better one there. But the thing might surprise us with Hive is their AI stuff. Now, how much that brings in revenue, we'll have to see. What else do we have here? Based on all the data you collect, can you tell which miners will survive the halving based on the age of their hardware? Yes, more or less I can tell, right? It all depends on where Bitcoin goes, where the network hash rate goes at that time when the halving happens. Right now we're having a high pump in Bitcoin, so there might be a case where pretty much everybody survives, but as for how long, we don't know. But yeah, I can run the data on there because I track all the miners, everything else like that. Let's see your question. How can, say, Canon be a huge winner with the need for the most efficient mining rigs plus 1,000 hot log set off for exahash? So if you just look at Canon on the 1-year chart, just for an example, against Bitcoin, you will see that Canon has been going down in stock value, price value, whereas Bitcoin has been going up in value. There's a disconnect between the two right now. And maybe eventually that will flip, but I just don't see that happening, at least not right now. I don't know what's causing that disconnect right now, but it's just not performing that well. Is it possible the miners diluted to buy BTC? I hope they're not buying BTC at these values. We know that MicroStrategy is buying them, but MicroStrategy has a different game plan. The miners here should be buying machines that would make them even more money going forward, not buying BTC right now. That's just my take on it. I mean, that's their job is to generate Bitcoin at a much lower cost. So why buy Bitcoin at 60,000 when you can generate it at 20,000 right now? Just doesn't make sense to me. Dan states here, especially I think Mara wants to under-promise and over-deliver. They are being very conservative in their estimates and timing. Yeah, I agree with you there. I think that's what they're trying to do, right? They learned their lesson from 2022, saying that they're going to get to 23 by the end of the year. That didn't happen. And then they obviously paid for it. But that's fine. They can kind of sandbag the estimates as far as when they're going to get to it. I would still like to know what those machines are. What's the hash rate? How much did you pay for them? I think that's all fair questions that they can provide us with. Right? They don't need to provide us that they're going to be getting 10,000 miners in May, June, July, whatever. They can just say, we're going to get those in 2025, which is fine. But it's still, as an investor, I'm not an investor in Marathon, but as an investor in these companies, I would like to know if you have machines on hand and they're sitting around not doing anything. I would like to know that. And I think a lot of you guys would like to know that as well. Okay, I think we're getting close to the end here. Questions. Did Riot turn off their ATM finally? Yes, we talked about it in, I believe, yesterday's video. So they did turn it off. They basically terminated their ATM. They pulled 700 some million out of the 750 million that they did have. So they're done with that one, right? But now we got Marathon with 2 ATMs that have a potential of 2 billion on it. Crazy. Let's see here. CORZ mining machines updated. Yeah, they're updating some of their fleet. They're getting newer ones from Bitmain. Part of the restructuring deal, they placed orders with Bitmain for cash and stock in CORZ. And then they're also doing, I think, hosting with Bitmain as well for some of their machines as well. So they got a lot going on for them. Let's see here. What's the best top 3 miners to hold? Cleanspark, Bitfarms, and I would say probably right now, I would say Marathon probably, right? Iris Energy is also in that, but they're way undervalued. I think Marathon's a little bit more valued. So depending what you're going for, if you're going for growth and things like that, or if you're going for efficiency, I'll go with IREN. But if you're going for growth, go with Marathon. Marathon will probably do very, very well here in the next 12 months if they can continue to grow like they are. Let's see. Do you think Bitcoin will see 55,000 again anytime soon? Not as long as we have the demand from the ETFs. If that continues, no. But if that wanes a little bit here and we get a little pause, then yeah, we might come down to 55. I mean, that's still not too far. I think we came close to that today, actually. I would have to look at it, but I think we came pretty close to it. Let's see here. Do you think IREN can reach 20 and beyond hash rate going into 2025? I think their goal was to reach 20 by the end of this year, if I'm not mistaken. But I think they can. They have a huge facility where they have a lot of power, and they can build that out. So as long as they can build that out, I think they can do it. But we just need to, like I said before, quarterly updates from them would be nice. And then if they started to increase their HODL a little bit, I think that would be great. Okay, I think we're getting here towards the end. Okay, why do you not hold any Marathon? I look at, well, I'll go back to this. I've stated this earlier, but I started looking into the miners back in 2021, right? We got into the bear market in 2022. At that point, Cleanspark was looking the most undervalued. They had great operations as far as uptime. Their continued growth targets were being met or exceeded, right? So that's another thing there. The big thing for me is obviously being operational as much as possible, uptime, because at that point, if you buy these machines, you want to have them plugged in as long as you can, or well, as long as you can, and have the uptime as close to 100% as possible, because then that helps you pay off those machines faster. Marathon, I mean, they had a rocky 2022. They were just not great, right? They promised to get to 23 exahash. That didn't happen, not until 2023, late in 2023, but they got it done nonetheless, and they were just all over the place as far as operations, things like that. So that's the reason why I didn't get into Marathon, and the reason I'm still not getting into Marathon is because just recently here we saw in January and in February their production was way down from where it should be, right? So that's kind of the reason why. No question they're like the largest Bitcoin miner out there, and they're going to have great cash, but I'm looking at other things, right? There's not just biggest and greatest is not always the best thing. That's just at least my take on it. Okay, I think that is all. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Obviously, we have 310 of you guys watching right now, so thank you so much for coming in. We'll do another live session on Saturday, and then we always do one on Wednesday, so it's kind of break things up a little bit here. Have you guys ask questions, chit-chat back and forth here a little bit. But yeah, we'll see how tomorrow goes. Right now, the miners, I think, pre-market or aftermarket were up a little bit. For the most part, I think Marathon was down, and Marathon could be down because of, well, just the ATMs, right? 2 billion in ATMs that they still have available to them. That's huge. But we'll see. All right. So we'll leave it at that. If you guys have any questions or comments, leave it in the comments section of the video. And I'm getting a little bit behind because there's so many of you guys, and it's just only me basically replying to all those things. So forgive me if I'm like a day behind or something like that. I will get to your questions or comments or anything like that within hopefully 24 hours. Okay. So if you guys enjoyed it, hit the like button, subscribe, helps me out as always. And then always the spreadsheets are available to my Patreon members as always. That's still $8 a month, and you get access to everything that I have. Over 100,000 data points on everything. So plus you get access to the Discord channel, which is our private channel there. So that is it. Hopefully tomorrow will be a better day for the miners. We'll see. But otherwise, thank you again. I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then,